Hi, I'm Dave Epstein, and welcome to my garden. It's early April, and we're standing in front of what we call a low tunnel. I've uncovered it. We're in the upper 50s, low 60s here this first week in April. We're zone 6, Natick, Massachusetts. I'm gonna put my sunglasses on, guys. I know it might be considered rude. My dad would say, take off your glasses, but I'm gonna put them on because I don't wanna be squinting the whole episode. So I wanna talk to you guys about what's been going on this winter and what I'm doing to sort of open the rest of the garden up during the spring. So this is the low tunnel, and these are hoops. We used a hoop bender to make these hoops a couple of years ago. This is row cover here, and this is greenhouse plastic, and this has basically been over this all winter long. I use bags and sandbags to kind of cover it, and look what we have. A lot of this has been growing the entire winter. I want to show you some of the things I did. Now, admittedly, this has been a very mild winter, so some of the things that worked may not work every season. Look at this lettuce. This is a red sales lettuce, and I planted this, ready for this? I planted this the first week of December. It lingered all December, began to germinate in January, and now here we are several weeks later, and I have this beautiful lettuce, which we're able to harvest in the first week of April. That's pretty amazing. So look at the kale. This has been in here since last spring, so almost an entire year. Notice it's now flowering, and anytime I could get in the tunnels during the winter, I went in here and I harvested the kale. I actually need to water this a little bit. It's beginning to droop. I'm actually going to use this for the Passover Easter weekend, and I'm going to make a pesto with it and kind of grind it up and add some garlic and some herbs and some nuts, and we'll make a little bit of a dip with that. Over here we've got some radicchio, and that wintered over very nicely, and you can take the radicchio. I've got to pull this out. We'll actually sear that, maybe pan sear that or put it on the grill. Now look at the peas. These are peas which were planted. I can check my day here. You can see this. These peas were planted February 23rd. So about, what's that, about 5 or 6 weeks ago at this point. And you can see how nice and high they are, really doing quite well. First week in April. I'm going to end up harvesting peas late May or early June, so that'll be a full month ahead of when most people are harvesting peas in this zone. Some of you may have already planted your peas and will be harvesting even earlier than that. So you can see how beautifully a low tunnel really can not only keep things going from last year, but you can start so much earlier by using this low tunnel trick. So this particular part of the garden, I really have 3 different sections of vegetable gardens. We've got the high tunnel over here, same principle as the low tunnel. I just raised those hoops up using some rebar a couple of years ago, and we'll give you a little peek in there so you can see what that looks like, and lots of stuff growing in there. And then here's where the cucumbers will go later on in the summer. Still way too early to put that stuff out. But in this area here, I'm gonna put our cool weather crops. Things like our brassicas, our broccoli, our collards, the kale, new varieties of kale will all go here. But if you notice, the soil, it's kind of dry. It's been a dry spring, but there's some weeds coming up. So one of the things you want to do when you're revamping your garden for the spring is, first of all, you want to get down and be sure you get as many weeds up as you possibly can. So we're going to do that and get these weeds out of here. One of the things I love to add is cow manure. So this is composted cow manure. Now, why do I do that? Because when you're organically gardening, which I try to be as organic as possible throughout this garden, by adding the cow manure into the soil, you're going to replenish the soil. So last year here we had potatoes, and I'm rotating crops. This year we're going to put our brassicas here. And while I put my new crops here, I probably could use a little bit more in the way of nutrients. So the cow manure will do that. You could also add other organic fertilizers. Just follow the directions on the back of the package and sprinkle them in. And then you want to work the soil. You know, I don't like to work the soil too much because the structure of the soil is so fantastic. So I use, you know, this is an old fork here, and I just go in like that, and I sort of just lift the soil up a little bit just to give it a little bit of aeration. And I'll do that throughout the area before planting. I'm not really turning it over and disturbing it too much because soil has a nice structure, and a lot of the mycorrhiza, a lot of the bacteria, the beneficial insects and worms that are down there, I really don't want to mix them up too much, but I definitely want to add some oxygen to the soil before I plant things. So, you don't want to just throw the manure down and leave it. You really do want to mix that in a little bit, especially in those first few inches of the soil. This is one of the reasons why I'm pretty careful. See that worm right there? I don't want to disturb him too much. We'll put him back in and let him do his job. And that will give us a nice base to be able to plant our plants. And we'll put in our collards, our kales, our broccoli, the cool weather crops will go here. And then later on in the season, I could reuse this. We could put some pumpkins in here, which will trail down to the back of the gardens. I could also, very late in the season, maybe put some fall crops in here. So maybe we get one last crop of radishes, or maybe we get some carrots next year that we winter over in this area. So I'm always thinking, not only what am I planting now in April, but what will I plant in July, August, maybe even October. All right, so our area is prepared and I've already got some seedlings ready to go in. You'll have to wait, however, for our next episode of Growing Wisdom to see how I do that. For Time Warner Cable, I'm Dave Epstein.